Well, it's my great privilege to be able to introduce and welcome the WIIGS family, at least many members of the WIIGS family. They're not all here, but the WIIGS name has been a part of Hebron's history for many decades now. And in fact, we have a number of them here at the 125th reunion. And I'm just going to introduce the senior members of this group. I think in total there should be 13 who've been through Hebron who have the name WIIGS, either by marriage or by birth. And so we'll start with the senior members of this, and we'll begin with Susie over here. And you can say in a moment your involvement with Hebron, what that's going to be. I'll just simply introduce you at the moment. And then we have Peter, and Paul. Okay, and so I'll ask you to say when you're at Hebron, which Hebron you are at, which campus you're on. And then also, maybe we should at this point just mention the other people's names. So, Susie, you have how many children?
Okay, I have 3 boys. And so this is Ajay, my oldest one, and Kieran, Peter, he likes to be called Peter, and Danny Eshkol. And yes.
Yeah,
so
we'll
have
come
3
back
boys.
and ask them when they were at Hebron, what years and what
right.
time they were at Hebron.
Yes.
So Peter.
My oldest son, Josiah, and his wife, Simona, and my middle son, Stephen. Our youngest one, Caleb, couldn't be here this time.
Right, good. Paul.
Yeah, I'm Paul, and this is Serena, our eldest. And after her, she had Sahana and Sumana. So 2 girls are missing.
So altogether from the clan or the tribe, we have 3 missing.
Yes.
But it's great to have you all here, and thanks for being willing to do this interview. So let me go right back to the beginning, and it'd be very interesting to hear the history of the WIIGS, your parents, in other words. So just tell us a bit about that, Susie. You can do that.
Okay.
Briefly talk about your parents and how it was you came to attend Hebron.
All right. Well, it's interesting to acknowledge the fact that Uti has lots of meaning to us, because my mother, Margaret Wiggs, and my father, Franklin Wiggs, they both came out as single missionaries in 1953. Mom from Canada, right, and my dad from California. So they came on a boat from New York all the way to Bombay. My mother actually came two weeks before my dad, but they both ended up learning Telugu, wanting to learn Telugu, and in April of 1953, they arrived in January. In April of 1953, they happened to be in Selborne, which used to be a guest house for missionaries, which is now the girls' residence.
So you mean Selborne here in Uti?
Yes, in Uti.
Our Selborne.
Yeah, our Selborne.
Keep going.
Yeah, so as many of you know, missionaries used to want to escape the heat in those days, and there were from various organizations would be up here. My mother was with the Canadian Baptist Mission, my dad was with the Indian Mission, and there were other mission organization groups too. So at that time, my father made an acquaintance with my mother, and he was hoping and praying that he would find the right partner for him, to continue the work in India. And he had actually prayed that the Lord would show him the person that he should marry, and he was hoping that she would be a nurse, which my mother is, and she was also studying the language Telugu.
And another condition, he wanted that she play the accordion.
That's true.
And she happened to know how to play it. She had her own accordion.
Yep. So in April '53, they met each other, and they were here for probably 2 months learning Telugu and getting to know each other better. So by August, my dad knew that my mom was the one person he wanted married, the only person, I guess. So they were engaged in August and were married in December of the same year.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the history of how mom and dad actually came to India, and then later, when I was a small girl at about 5 years old, We lived in a very remote area.
Yeah, so where were you living? I was going to ask that question.
Okay.
Where were they
Yes,
based?
we were living in Mahadevapur, which is like close to the Maharashtra border, but in Andhra Pradesh, now known as Telangana. And it was a very remote village surrounded by forest and jungle. They decided Hebron was probably the best place for me to go. And I was so excited to go to Hebron because all the Mish kids or the missionary kids from the Indian Mission, maybe in those days about 25, 30 in a group, they would come by train to Madras, to Coimbatore, Metropolitan, and then up the hill train up to Hebron. And I thought that was so much fun. And I was so happy that I could go and be with my friends in Hebron School. And I was kind of a shy person then. And so I was kind of shy. And I felt like I could just kind of be there. And no one thought that I was odd.
So thank you, Susie. You started at Hebron Kunur
Yes.
in 1963.
Girls' school.
Yeah. It wasn't only girls, and we'll come to that in a moment. And we'll move now to Peter. If you could tell us about when you started at Hebron, what age were you, and then keep telling your story.
So I came up in 1967, and because I had a sister at Hebron Kunur, I was placed there, I think, for the first 3 or 4 years.
And what age were you?
I was 5 when I joined in 67. I was there for 3 or 4 years, and then they moved after that grade, they moved us up to Lushington.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what year would that have been that you came to Lushington?
I believe it was either 70 or 71. Yeah.
Because Lushington had only started in 1961.
Okay.
Yes.
So in one sense, you could have started at Lushington straight off.
Right.
But, it was probably wise of your parents to have you and your sister.
I think it was a school policy. If you had a sibling there, you were there for some time.
Right, yeah.
It was up until 3rd grade.
And so, Paul, what about you? When did you begin and where?
Right.
Which campus for you?
Yeah, I started here in 71 February. My brother was here, so according to the same policy, I was sent to Lush here, and I was here through 4th grade, and then when amalgamation took place, when I was in 5th standard, I went there for 2 years, to Kunur.
Oh, right.
And then I came back in 7th,
Because the
when
junior school
everything
was
came
there.
here.
Right. Okay. So
Why did that happen? Where?
it was because, well, a different story, but the junior school was in Kunur,
Boys
and
and
the
girls.
rest of the school was up here.
Boys and girls.
The school wasn't quite
Okay,
big
so
enough.
the
They just didn't have enough accommodation
Yeah.
initially in the beginning, so they had to keep the junior school there for 2 years.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So all 3 of you have experienced both campuses.
Yes.
And then, so Susie, when did you finish at Hebron? We'll come back to more of the detail in between, but just to get the bookends of,
All right.
of your Hebron experience.
I finished in 1975. I was the first batch of amalgamation. So I left in 75, started in 1974 when amalgamation began.
Right. And you would have done O levels.
O levels.
Yeah.
There were no A levels in those days.
So, and after that, you went back to the States?
Yes.
Right.
I went to California, where I studied at Biola University.
Right. Good. And then Peter?
I finished in 1978, and after finishing here, I actually went to a small Bible school up in Alaska, the Alaska Bible Institute, for a couple of years. Worked for a couple of years, then went to Biola, where my sister had studied out. She was finished, then I joined there for university.
And you, Paul?
I finished in 81, my O levels, and I tagged along with my brother. Went to the same Bible Institute, and then tagged along back
Alaska.
down to Biola.
Alaska.
Okay, right. Good.
Yep.
All right, then let's broaden this out a bit and hear from the others. So Ajay, I think you're the eldest
That's right.
of the cousins. Just tell us a bit about your Hebron experience, and when did it begin? And of course, it was this Hebron by that time.
Yes.
And tell us a bit about your journey through Hebron.
So I came to Hebron in 93, and I was here till 98.
At the age of?
So I was 12.
So
Yeah,
that would
11
be
to 12.
standard.
So I came in 7th.
Right.
And then I finished 11th grade and left after O levels
Yes.
or GCSE.
So you didn't do your A levels here? No?
I didn't.
And then what did you do after you left here?
So after I left here, I joined a college in the US and ended up going to medical school there and finished my medical training in the US.
Peter?
Yeah.
Yes, you were next, that's right.
Yeah, so I
We'll
started.
do you in groups of siblings at this point.
I
Yeah.
started in '97. It was overlapping with one year with Ajay. So I started in grade 8. I was 12 years old in Glen Rock with the Aitkins as my dorm parents. Then I graduated in 2003 after completing my A levels.
You did your A levels?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And what about you, Danny?
yeah, I joined in '99 in 7th grade, and it was the year of the centennial.
Yeah.
So I participated as a student in that, and I graduated in 11th grade in 2003. And then I went to the U.S. and did college, and my master's in higher education.
Right. Good. We might come back and find out more about all of that and your journeys.
Yeah.
So who's next in age?
Sorry.
Serena. Okay.
So I joined right after they graduated in 2003. So they kind of
After Danny.
after Danny graduated in 2003, and I was 10 years.
So you were the only Whig here at that point.
Exactly. He left me.
He deserted you.
That must have been unusual for Hebron to only have one Whig in the school.
But actually, he left after completing O levels, so his classmates were still around,
Okay.
and they kind of looked out for me as a little sister,
Oh.
knowing that I was his cousin. So that was very sweet.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good.
I was 10 years old when I joined.
Right. And did you finish through and do your A levels?
Yes.
Yeah.
I completed my 13th
And what year was that?
in 2011.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And then we jump to
Josiah.
Peter's. Yeah, Josiah first. And Simona, we can have your story together and then we'll hear from Stephen.
Yeah, so both of us joined Hebron in 2008. Me and my brothers were day students for the first 2 years, and then we joined the boarding school in 2010. And I graduated in 2015, and then moved to the States to go to college.
Yeah, so you're married, so you're obviously not a Whig.
Yeah.
You are now, but you weren't when you came to Hebron.
Yep.
So explain a bit about your background and
Yeah. So my parents are missionaries, and they lived in Andhra Pradesh. That's where they were serving. And I was homeschooled until 4th grade, and then I went to 2 local public schools in Ongole, the small town we lived in. And I had some trouble fitting in, and there were no extracurricular activities, and I'm an extracurricular kind of gal. So we were looking for a good opportunity, for my education. And then my parents found Hebron through various other missionary friends. So yeah, I joined in 2008, then Standard 7A.
right.
He was in B.
Oh, Alpha.
Alpha, but
Yeah.
Okay, Alpha, sorry.
Yeah, so let's jump forward to after Hebron. It wasn't long before, well, you were a Hebron item for a long time anyway.
Yeah.
I know that as principal.
Yep.
How long was it before you got married after you left Hebron, after graduation in 2015?
So we graduated in June of 2015, and then we got married in July of 2016. So
Right.
just a year later.
Because you both went to the States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Stevie.
Yeah, I joined at the same time in 2008. First 2 years we were day students living in Farley, and then joined the dorms in 2010. I joined in Standard 5 in 2008, and then finished my A levels in 2017.
Right. We'll come back to you as well, but I'm conscious of the time, so we need to keep moving. Let me ask the 3 parents, older generation, for one sort of enduring memory of your time at Hebron. What was one significant event, memory, may have even been a life-changing event that happened during your Hebron time, a standout memory that you have? In any order, it doesn't have to be Susie first. If someone else wants to start first, that's fine.
Go from youngest.
Well, yeah, it's hard for me to pinpoint one highlight, but I would say that Hebron, for me, was a positive experience overall. I was able to develop as an individual. There was a lot of spiritual nurture that I got here. It was in 5th and 6th standard that I was encouraged to take up a Bible study. And it was a correspondence course type of thing. And at the first level, you got a New Testament, awarded a New Testament. Second level, a full Bible. And the third level, a concordance. So before I finished 6th grade, I got the concordance. So Hebron was an environment where I really grew spiritually.
Yeah. And you still have the New Testament?
I do.
Do you have that with you?
I'm very sorry. If you'd asked me, I would have brought it.
Yeah.
It was Young Sowers League.
It could almost become a Hebron archival
That's right.
piece. Yeah. So thanks. Next.
The Wallaces were my dorm parents, around probably 7th, 8th, 9th grade, somewhere in there. And they also were a real part of my spiritual nurture and development. And I benefited a lot from them and the environment at school, Bible studies, a youth group, and those kind of things. Another highlight was amalgamation, because we then finally had girls.
So that's where Joey gets it from. Susie?
There are quite a few highlights. I think one thing that I really loved about Hebron and appreciated about Hebron is that there was so much music and there was so much singing. And, just the daily assemblies where you sing a hymn or you sing a song. Those songs were just ingrained in our memory, and I can sing those hymns even now. All my brothers, we just enjoy sing songs, and we just know all these old songs. Not only that, when we were at Hebron, there was a Miss Fountain. She was very, very musical, and Mr. Wood was the one at Lushington Hall, and I think they got together to combine Lushington and Hebron so that we could sing like Handel's Messiah or Bach. So we would be preparing in Kenora, they would be preparing in Lushington, and then we would have these cantatas, and we'd go down to Coimbatore and sing at I think it's St. Reverend Martin was there, St. Stephen's Church in Coimbatore maybe, and then here up in Uti at St. Stephen's. And that was just, such a highlight in my life because we enjoyed singing. I was a soprano, but, there were sopranos and all, altos, bass, tenor. And then getting together with the boys was a highlight,
So I
get it from her.
I can identify with what you're saying because I joined the choir with Brian Wood conducting and remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I had ulterior motives for joining the choir.
All of us boys did.
Has to be said.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me throw it open to any of the others. What were some of the highlights that you have? Anyone from the younger generation, a highlight, or it can be positive, negative, whatever you'd like to share.
So I would like to share the fact that adding to what Simona was bringing up about the extracurriculars and having the opportunities to take part and learn new hobbies or skills and things that you probably would never try elsewhere.
Yes.
So let's be specific. Let's identify some of those.
Yes.
And Simona has already alluded to that.
Yeah.
Susie has just mentioned music in particular, but let's identify some of those things, perhaps for each of you.
Sure. And
be specific.
Walking around campus, I've seen on the notice boards some of the clubs that students are involved in during this time. And that brought back good memories because every year, that was one of the highlights of the semester where you took part in the clubs every Thursday afternoon for a period of 8 weeks or so. So I did rappelling or abseiling and learned how to play tennis. And a few of my friends did some sailing. And then there was Duke of Edinburgh. Every 3 weeks, there was a sports tournament of some sort, and the seasons were short and intense. You had your tryouts, you had your tournament, and then you move on to the next thing. So that cycle and being involved. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was after graduating, just a lot of what we took for granted became apparent. So the friends we made, the blessings we had with all the staff members and how they poured into us.
Yes.
You just don't realize it until you leave.
Until you miss it.
Until you miss it, or you have kids and you're like, wow, this is quite a lot of work to be engaged with them. And we had people who poured out their lives over several decades in some cases. And so I'm very grateful in that sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
Great. What about some of the other?
Drama, so many amazing performances. That was
Yeah.
such a fun. Art, sports, in the public schools, they don't have any sports, especially for girls. So it was amazing to do field hockey, things I've never considered trying. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course, art was a big thing for you.
Yeah,
and is.
Yeah, I ended up doing sculpture and ceramics for my undergrad. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I came in with a learning disability that was making it difficult for me to succeed in the Indian schools. And through the help of Miss Morris and the Department of Enhanced Learning,
Miss Angus.
and Miss Angus at the time, I was really able to catch up with my class a lot. So when I started, their assessment showed that I was 11 or 12 years old, and my reading was compared to a 7-year-old. And so by the summer I left, they did the assessment again, and they said I was same with my class. So that was a huge improvement. And I've never really thought about my disability after I left Hebron. It was never a factor. Like I went into doing psychology and writing long papers, and I never had a problem. But I remember learning English as if I didn't know any English with Miss Morris. Like, I don't know how that happened. So
Yeah.
And of course, now you're an educator.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Now you're
that's
in
true. Yeah.
higher education.
right.
Yep.
Serena.
Yeah, I, like Simona, similar experience. I went to local schools and also growing up as a girl in that kind of local setting, we don't really have lots of opportunities to express ourselves. But Hebron really gave me that space to come out and express the different talents that I had, or even I didn't realize I had. Hebron gave me that space to realize some of them. And I just loved the library. I would be there all the time. And so I've made such meaningful relationships in this place that have lasted a lifetime. And
Well, a short lifetime.
Yes, a short
You've got a long way to go yet.
So far.
but yeah, definitely drama, and also just being in the presence of so many people from different cultures. It really opened up my eyes, and the way of thinking expanded for me. And that was such a blessing for me going to the States, because like my cousin said, the things we took for granted really became a blessing for us because we stood apart in the crowd. And it's all because of our experience here.
Right.
Yeah.
Ajay, you're a doctor now. In fact, a surgeon, I believe. Is that right?
I'm an interventional cardiologist, so not
Okay.
open
Tell us a
surgery.
bit about your journey into medicine.
Into medicine.
Well, yeah, and through, as a...
I think just quickly, I remember having a lot of identity questions in our local schools because you felt very different. And I think what my memory of Hebron, as soon as I came here, after the initial hurdles of just getting used to the place, just felt that I could fit in. There's lots of people from different backgrounds, different religions. And throughout my time here, I learned so much from the different perspectives. And I remember having a lot of questions and my faith journey, and people like yourself and others who helped me through those questions and through the perspectives that I was able to hear from here.
I think I taught you RS, didn't I?
Yes.
GSCC
And my paper was going to be about challenging the story of the importance of Christ versus Paul in the Bible or something, and you asked me to choose something else.
It's probably too difficult for me to assess.
So anyway, so that was to build on what Serena was saying. But so we grew up in Andhra Pradesh, where my grandma was a nurse, and I saw her impact to the community through medicine, and that's always been something that I was interested in. And being here, I was able to do well in school and get the necessary education. But also, I remember, like Ruby Mangaldas would teach us a lot about just focusing your career and how to build toward the exams like the SAT. And there was some college recruiters who came by, and I was able to visit with them. And just that office that Ms. Mangaldas ran helped me kind of map out how I would try to get into medicine in the US. And so I remember that was very helpful. And so eventually I was able to get to the US. I did well on the SATs, and then through college. In the US, you start the 4-year undergrad before you do medical school, so I did that. And then through my medical training, started becoming interested in cardiology. So now I focus on doing procedures in heart valves and heart arteries.
Right. Great. Now, we haven't heard from Stevie yet. So tell your story. I mean, there's one particular skill that you acquired here at Hebron, which you have developed.
He's developed, for sure. So I guess sport here was always a big part of my extracurricular life, and I tried to get involved in as many sports as possible. And I guess cricket was always the sport that I enjoyed the most, and I would always play it, when we were kids with my brother or with our childhood friends. But yeah, here
they'd play at midnight in their home with a cricket bat and ball.
Inside?
Yeah.
With a hard ball?
No.
Few light bulbs later.
But yeah, it's definitely something that I got a lot more interested in here when I was at Hebron, and we always enjoyed the inter-school cricket here, and I also started playing some of the local club games and leagues here through some of the local coaches that kind of saw me playing.
That recognized your talent.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and then I guess in my last 1 or 2 years here, I played for the Nilgiris district as well in the inter-district competition. And yeah, that was before I graduated in 2017. And after, so I moved to the US in 2017. Been there almost.
No, the USA is not really known as a cricketing nation.
No, it's not one of the.
But you're changing that.
It's not one of the.
It's not like Australia, for example.
No.
Or India, for that matter.
Yeah, it's not one of the biggest countries for cricket. Exactly, yeah. But it's definitely a sport that's growing quickly in the US. There's a lot of new talent and new facilities and new leagues coming up right now. There's a lot more investment in professional cricket in the US right now, so it is something I'm pursuing still.
You're part of that.
Yes, I'm part of
that. So
tell
us, what are you doing at the moment in terms of your cricketing involvement?
Yeah, so I play in, it's called the minor league cricket in the US, which is a semi-professional competition, and it's, I guess, a stepping stone to the major league, which is a fully professional league in the US. It's something like the IPL in India, I guess the American version of it. So that is, I guess the next step forward. And also, at the moment, I'm also aiming to play for the USA cricket team as well. So those are, I guess, two of my goals in the near future, you could say.
So we'll look out for you, and hopefully we'll see you playing for the USA at some point. Joey, you are also very sporty.
Yeah, sports was
sports. So
definitely.
Tell us a bit of that, but also anything else that you'd like to say about your time at Hebron. But sport was a big feature for you too.
Sports was a big feature. It was definitely the main extracurricular thing that I did. I didn't really do much music, and whenever drama came around, I went for the smallest parts. So, sports was the thing. And yeah, I mean.
So you represented the school, Hebron, in how many different sports?
The main thing was cricket. I also played basketball, badminton, tennis, and hockey, inter-school sports, and then
I hear you had a really great badminton hockey coach.
Yeah, I forget his name, but it was Mr. Barclay. Yeah, no, those were fun, and yeah, made a lot of friends through sport as well, and had a lot of great coaches who were also mentors in just everyday life, not just sport. But one thing I remember was, Stevie was really into sports as well, so if we had a free Saturday, we'd kick it off with some cricket probably, and then after breakfast we'd probably play some basketball, and then did tennis, and then after dinner we just finished off with a session of badminton. So the whole day was filled with sports. And also another cool thing was I met my future wife playing basketball, so
Oh, yeah?
it was pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know this one.
Yeah. We'd play at lunchtime together, like on the. Well, first I went and just started watching, like all the guys were playing. I was like waiting for somebody to say, "Hey, would you like to play with us?" And finally they invited me, and I would play every lunchtime. And then that's how we fell in love.
So seated here, how many? I believe there are 4 cricket captains, right, in this group during their eras.
1, 2. Ajay.
Ajay was.
I was for the junior level, not the senior level. Yeah, junior level I was a lousy cricket player.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, look, thank you all very much for your contributions. We've covered a lot of territory and it's been really good. But Susie mentioned earlier on the family tradition of singing hymns and songs. And I think it'd be good if we closed with not a hymn, in fact, not a very reverent song even, but I think we've got a couple of songs that the WIIG choir would like to sing for us as we conclude. So, Hebron Kanur, the original Hebron, had a school song since 1930, which is Deo Supremo.
Yes.
And, most of us know it. But when amalgamation happened and Hebron moved up here, because Lushington never had an official school song. It had an unofficial song, which we're going to hear in a moment. But it wasn't until the centenary that Deo Supremo was revived and brought back into the DNA of Hebron. And I think Judy Aitken and I were responsible for that.
It's a wonderful
But we're not
song.
going to sing Deo Supremo today, unless you particularly want to. You may. But let's hear the unofficial Lushy school songs. I think there are 2 of them you're going to sing for us. So over to you. I'm not sure who's
Mr.
leading
Barclay,
up.
can I just add one small thing?
Please.
Friendships were really important to all of us, I think, here. And we, my class of 78, which is about 46 years ago, still has a WhatsApp group. And the majority of our graduating class is still in that group. And we still stay in touch. And several are here this week, too. So that's really...
Yes, well, I think a good demonstration of that loyalty and sense of belonging and commitment to Hebron School is actually exemplified by you here.
Yes.
The fact that so many of you have come back
Yes.
for this event.
It's like a
And then
second
so
home.
many others as well. So
Yeah, 8 traveled, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 traveled from abroad in our
USA.
family. So, yeah. All right.
All right, let's finish off with these songs.
Sue, you can start us off. Come.
Come to Hebron.
Come to Hebron, it's a place of misery. There's a signpost round the corner saying, "Welcome unto thee." Don't believe it, don't believe it. It's a pack of rotten lies. If it wasn't for the teachers, it would be a paradise. Build a bonfire, put the teachers on the top, put the matrons in the middle, and burn the rotten lot. Sorry.
I'm glad the principal wasn't mentioned. The principal escaped. And I think there's another one, isn't there?
Yeah, there's one more.
10 more days and where shall I be? Out of the gates of misery. No more Latin, no more French, No more sitting on a rut-put bench. If the teacher interferes, send her off with a box in her ears. No more froggies in my tea, making goggly eyes at me. No more spiders in my bath, taking naughty photographs.
Sorry for the irreverence.
Well, I don't think Brian would approve of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think that's probably the end of our time together.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time, invaluable
Yeah.
time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Mr. Barclay, for all that you've meant to my boys and to the WIIGS in general and to me too.
Yeah.
And you're a Hebronite too.
I am.
Yep.
Once a Hebronite,
Always.
always a Hebronite.